Number 51. This is a number and quantity question. We're dealing with counting principles. A teacher assigns each of her 18 students a different integer from 1 through 18. The teacher forms pairs of study partners by using the rule that the sum of the pair of numbers is a perfect square. Assuming the 9 pairs of students follow this rule, the student assigned which number must be paired with the student assigned the number 1. This is going to be really hard to do if you don't write out these numbers. So let's write them out. So now we have to pair 2 of these numbers, and that pair has to be a perfect square. It says the sum of the pair of numbers is a perfect square. So for instance, if we were to add up these 2 numbers, 1 and 10, that would be 11. That is not a perfect square. Now the perfect squares that we can work with are 4, 9, 16, 25, and that's it. Notice that we can't use 36 because 18 is our biggest number. Even if we were to add it to 17, that would only add up to 35, which is less than 36. So we know that we can't use 36. If we think about these perfect squares, the only one that will work for 18 is 25. 18 plus something has to equal 25. 18 plus something cannot equal 16 or any of these other numbers. So we know that 18 has to go with 7. The same can be said about 17. 17 has to go with 8. 16 has to go with 9. Now at this point we have 2 options because 15 plus 10 will give us 25, but 15 plus 1 will give us 16. If we were to say 15 plus 10 is 25, then 14 plus 11, 12 plus 13, all of these would work. But then what would we do with these numbers? That means 6 plus 3 would give us 9. 4 plus 5 would give us 9 as well, but then we'd have 1 and 2 remaining. That will not work. What we need to do at this point is pair up the 15 with the 1. That'll give us 16. 14 with the 2. 13 with the 3. 12 with the 4, 11 with the 5, and 10 with the 6. All of those will add up to 16. Now the student assigned which number must be paired with the student assigned the number 1? Well, it has to be 15 because they have to add up to 16. So the answer here is B. Number 52 is algebra. We have to build functions and solve equations. Lucky found $8.25 in pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters while walking home from school one week. When she deposited this money in the bank, she noticed that she had twice as many nickels as pennies, 1 fewer dime than nickels, and 1 more quarter than nickels. How many quarters did Lucky find that week? The simplest way to do this is to back solve. So we're going to start with answer choice H. How many quarters did she have? If she had 16 quarters, since she had 1 more quarter than nickels, that means she had 15 nickels. She also had 1 fewer dime than nickels, 14 dimes, and twice as many nickels as pennies. That means whatever she had in nickels, she had half of that amount in pennies. At this point, we can see that this is not going to be the answer because that will give us 7.5 pennies. What we can deduce from that is any even numbered quarter is not going to work. That's not going to work, and that's not going to work. So let's try J. 21. If she had 21 quarters, she'd have 20 nickels, 19 dimes, and 10 pennies. Let's see if this gives us $8.25. 21 quarters is $5.25. 20 nickels is $1. 19 dimes is $1.90, and 10 pennies is 10 cents. When we add these up, we do get $8.25. J is our answer. Number 53, this is number and quantity, and here we're working with properties of exponents. Given that 10 to the 2x minus 1 over x equals 1, x equals. Now this is 10 to the something equals 1. Now this something looks really complicated, but it's just something. 10 to the something equals 1. And what you have to know that any number, it could be 10, it could be 43, it could be 100,000, any number raised to the 0 power is going to give you 1. 43 to the 0 is 1, 100,000 to the 0 is 1. That's really the only way you can actually get 1 is by raising some number to the 0 power. That means that this here is actually equal to 0. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to equate it to 0. So we'll multiply the x onto the other side, and we'll get 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add the 1, 2x equals 1, divide by 2, x equals 1/2. This is our answer, C. Number 54. This is statistics and probability. This is a probability question. The table below shows the results of a survey of 250 people who were asked whether they like to read and whether they play a musical instrument. According to the results, what is the probability that a randomly selected person who was surveyed likes to read, given that the person plays a musical instrument? This last part here is what we need to begin with. Given that the person plays a musical instrument. Plays a musical instrument. That means that we're only looking at most, 90 people. 50 of those people like to read, 40 of those people don't, but we're only looking at the people who play a musical instrument, not these other people. So given that the person plays a musical instrument, and again, we're working with probability, so that's desired over total. The total here is 90 people. What is the probability that a randomly selected person who was surveyed likes to read? 50. 50 out of 90. 5/9. G is our answer. Number 55 is an algebra question. We're dealing with conversions and rate. Mario was riding a bicycle with wheels 26 inches in diameter. During 1 minute of Mario's ride, the wheels made exactly 200 revolutions. At what average speed in feet per second was Mario riding during that minute? So let's first think about one of his wheels. The diameter, they tell us, is 26. That means the radius is 13. And that means the circumference of that wheel is 2 pi 13 or 26 pi. We could have also said it's 26, which is the diameter, pi d. Notice that this is in inches. What we want in the end is something in feet. So what we can do right now is convert that 26 pi inches into feet. That's 26 pi inches times 1 foot is 12 inches. So that would be 26 pi over 12 feet. What that tells us is that is the circumference of this wheel in feet and not inches. Now that wheel does 200 revolutions in that 1 minute. 1 revolution then is the distance of 1 circumference. Because think about it, this wheel is spinning, and as it goes around once, the distance that it will cover is the circumference, and that's 26 pi over 12 feet. It's going to do that 200 times in that 1 minute. Now this will give us the total distance that Mario rode on his bike in that 1 minute, but they're not asking for total distance, they're asking for average speed. How do we get average speed? Well, we know that distance equals rate times time. That rate is our average speed. So if we put the time on the other side, the average speed or the rate is distance over time. So all we need to do is first get the distance, which is 26 pi over 12 times 200, and then we're going to divide it by the time, which was 1 minute. But they want the minute in seconds, so it has to be 60 seconds. Now what we can do here is reduce. Reduce that and that. The 20 and the 6 become a 10 and a 3. And then that 10 and 12 become 5 and 6. The 26 and 6 become 13 and 3. So this is really 13 times 5 over 3 divided by 3, which is really just going to put that 3 right here. So that's 13 times 5 over 3 times 3 with the pi. 13 times 5 is 65, 3 times 3 is 9, so this is 65 pi over 9. The answer is A. Thanks for watching. For all the latest videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us at justiceprep.com, or you can like us on Facebook and Instagram.